Okay, so the next convention we want to talk about is the numeric panel and the tools panel. Remember, it was N to toggle the numeric panel and T to toggle the tools panel. The numeric panel also kind of doubles basically as a properties panel. So it has numeric values at the top, and on the bottom we start getting down to different properties. In this case, for the 3D view, we have some different shading properties and so on that we can set, right? And of course tools on the left and other options there. So this is consistent in other setups as well. So let's go here to where it says default, and you see if I grab this drop down and I set it to UV editing, now I have the UV editing window here, right? And now I can toggle on the tools panel there, and of course the numeric panel on the right. Okay, so with the cube selected, I'm going to hit the tab key to go to edit mode, the U key for UV unwrapping, and then choose Smart UV Project. That's just going to make us a quick UV map to illustrate some things. So you'll notice immediately we got some tools on the left, and those are consistent with some tools down here in this menu, as well as keyboard shortcuts that you'll learn. You also got properties that showed up on the right. So notice if I go back to object mode, those properties and tools disappear. I go back into edit mode, I've got my UV map, and these things come back. So now remember, over here we got the transform panel above, and below are these properties. Well, that's consistent here as well. If I click on a point and drag it, you see the position of that point shows up here. Okay, so now let's look at one more option. Let's see the animation panel, or in animation layout I should say. There is also a numeric panel here that can be toggled with the N key, right? There's a numeric panel here that can be toggled with the N key in the dope sheet and in the graph editor, right? And of course there's no numeric panel on the timeline or the properties or the outliner, right? But back up to the 3D view there will be, again, those panels, all right? So let's go to one more, and let's go to compositing. So now we'll notice over here we have a properties panel, tool numeric panel, right? You can see that's toggled on with the N key, and over here we got a tools panel. So if I have, let's just go back to object mode here, and I'm going to select use nodes. Now I got some nodes that show up. Notice also my tools panel came to life. Over here I've got a selection of nodes that I can add, and it's the same as the menu down here, is that I could add nodes this way. So again, it's just another way to add nodes here, and also for each one that I select, each node that I select, different properties will show up over here. Properties to name the nodes and a few other attributes of the node that you can change over here. Okay, so that's another convention to be aware of. Now the final one that I want to talk about, at least in this video, is let's go back to the UV editing window. And now this is something that's going to be consistent in all of the windows, but in this one it's probably easiest to illustrate how similar it is to the 3D view, because we're talking about 2D translations. Okay, so now if we remember, before we have this, the center point over here, the pivot point. Well, we have it here as well, so it can be set to 2D cursor, not 3D cursor, but in this case 2D cursor. And if I select all the selection options are the same, right? In other words, the shortcuts for selection is the same. So I can scale to the 3D cursor, or I could scale to the median point, right? So it's scaling like that. Jumping ahead here, I'm not about UVs, but let's just switch this mode here, and now I can actually select faces individually. And so let's do that, and we can show one more thing. If I select them all and I set this to individual origins, remember how that works. Scale, I can scale individual origins like that. Okay, and so you can cursor to selected. You can do that the same way. There we go, cursor to selected, right? So if you wanted to scale everything from that cursor, we could do that. Scale over everything from there. You see how that works? So all these conventions are going to be the same. Once you've learned them for the 3D view, you'll be able to apply all those in the 2D view as well. And even in some of the other views, you can use them. So I'll cover more of that later.